Mr Heappey's MP for Wells in Somerset. He won it from the Liberal Democrats. He had a fairly healthy majority of 9,500 or so at the last election. But I recall at a dinner with Sky News colleagues at a party conference not that long ago, he said it's a marginal seat. The Lib Dems will be hoping to get that back. On the subject, Kamali, of other MPs standing down, I can tell you some more breaking news. Yet another MP, and the last few seconds, has announced he's going. That's Robert Halfon, the popular education minister who's MP for Harlow. He's written a letter to the Prime Minister saying that he is going to go at the next general election. So you could say a trickle of MPs has become a deluge almost. There are so many of them. Robert Harlow, of course, is a seat that Labour have held in the past, in the Blair years. Let me look up the majority for you. See, this is so new. I'm having to look up the majority. I haven't had time to do it before I come here. That's a 14,000 majority, Harlow, Mr Halfon, over Labour. And so that's yet another minister going, a popular MP, Robert Halfon. As for Mr Heappey, well, yesterday in Defence Questions, it was the regular session of Defence Questions, right at the beginning, the Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, played a warm tribute to Mr Heappey, who was sitting on the government front bench. Mr Heappey looked almost embarrassed, actually. Sir Lindsay was talking about how he'd provided defence briefings to the Speaker and so on. There was a tribute from John Healey, the Shadow Defence Secretary, and then from Grant Shapps, his boss, the Defence Secretary. There are those who say that one of the reasons he might be going is that he was passed over for the top job when Ben Wallace quit, and it was given to Grant Shapps, an MP who'd had several cabinet jobs and ministerial posts. Mr Heappey, of course, is an ex-army officer, as was Ben Wallace. And there's quite a little club, if you like, of the ex-soldiers and army officers in the Commons, of which Mr Heappey was a leading member. And there was perhaps some disquiet among some of them that he didn't get promoted to Defence Secretary. Anyway, he is going. And as I say, Kamali, the very, very, very breaking news is that Robert Halfon's just announced he's going too.
John, the interesting thing about both of these announcements, isn't it, that these guys are ministers. It's not like they're, backbench MPs. And I'm just trying to have a quick look here as well as to the number. And I'm getting 67 Conservative MPs who are going to be standing down at the next election. You probably can correct me on that, John, but it's a big number, isn't it?
It is a big number. I mean, we're still, if the election's in October, as Jeremy Hunt was suggesting a week or so ago, then we've still got, how many months is it to go? 7 or 8 months to go. And, of course, there are likely to be many, many more. Now, there have been estimates that the total will top 100 by the time we get to the general election. There are those who are hanging on for all sorts of reasons before they make an announcement. What's interesting about Mr Halfon and Mr Heappey is that these are relatively young men. They're in Mr Heappey, I know, is in his 40s. Robert Halfon is a little bit older. But there's Robert Halfon, a familiar face to Sky News viewers. That looks like one of his Zoom interviews for Sky. Minister at the Education Department, used to chair the Education Select Committee, and he's going. I mean, we didn't see that one coming. Mr Heappey let it be known a little while ago that he was going at Easter, and of course today is the day that Parliament the House of Commons certainly is rising for the Easter recess. And Mr Heappey has given in that letter you've just mentioned, Kamali, big thanks to all the colleagues that he's worked with. Has he got another job to go to in the defence field? May he go to the House of Lords? I would have thought Ben Wallace is an absolute dead cert for the House of Lords, having been Cabinet Minister. Maybe Mr Heappey's on his way to the Lords as well, because as we saw at Defence Questions yesterday, he's very, very well respected. So, yes, 60-plus Tories already going, and there have been suggestions that number could rise possibly to 100 by the time of the general election.
And John, just quick final thought. Where do these two sit in terms of sort of those factions within the Conservative Party, and what does this tell us about the Prime Minister?
Well, I think I'd probably say that these two are from what you might call, what some Tories would call the sensible wing of the party. They're not right-wing ideologues by any means. Robert Halfon has prided himself very much in being a blue-collar Tory, talking about the need of the Tories to appeal to working-class voters. So his loss is a big blow. It is a surprise as well.